A plot by some southern governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party to remove its national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, from office is gaining momentum. The investigation further revealed that with the return of Ayu from vacation, the party has activated a series of meetings to stave off the agitation for his removal from office. Some chieftains of the party stated that Ayu rushed back to Nigeria to meet their aggrieved stakeholders. Now, multiple sources said that the calls for resignation were being amplified by the members of the camp of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, who feels the former Senate president was not neutral but sided with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar during the presidential primary. It was also gathered that some of the PDP governors who are sympathetic to Ayu, including his state governor, Samuel Otom of Benue State, have stepped in to avert his removal. Former National Legal Advisor to the People's Democratic Party, Jacob Mark, now joins us to share his perspective on the party's myriad of crises and why some governors want Ayu out. He will also be discussing the ongoing efforts at resolving the crisis in the party arising from the party's presidential primaries. We want to say thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, from investigations being carried out, we hear that Iyorchia Ayu, talking about the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, is on a hot seat, and right now he's trying to calm tensions within the party ranks. Talk to us, what has been going on, and his removal, would it change, or would it assuage the tensions from the weakest camp? Talk to us about the whole dynamics as we approach elections. Should we be having this squabble within the PDP?
Well, let me start by saying that the entire discussion as to removal of national chairman has its roots in the convention that brought up the chairman. There were discussions before that convention that established very clearly that if the presidential candidate of the party emerges from the north, the national chairman, if he's from the north, would also have to step down. There was a general agreement on that. And it is true that people expect that as gentlemen, when you make agreements, you should honor them. Now, it is correct for people to have a different approach after certain things have happened. It is normal. In political parlance, where you see people taking hard positions, it's largely out of either they have been slighted, or they have been shortchanged, or they feel shortchanged. And a serious political party must, as a matter of trying to win election particularly, address every teething issue. So it's normal. All the things happening are quite normal. They are not abnormal at all. When positions are taken based on what you did or you are assumed to have done, particularly as national chairman, there are certain positions that will be taken that you should be the father and be able to stomach and address appropriately. We have a situation where the wiki camp, as you call them, is giving conditions for their being part of the party and part of the electoral process that we are going into. These are issues that you cannot also shove under the table. You must address these issues. And it is not a removal of the chairman, as people are saying. No, it is whether we want to honor discussions that were had before the convention that drew up the national chairman. So currently, it should be a gentleman's discussion where all parties will sit around the table and discuss what will give the party victory come 2023. And if it is just to swap positions that will give us victory, I think that shouldn't be a difficult thing to do. But if the party and the members of the party who are aggrieved feel that this thing ought to be discussed and maybe an appropriate time different from this one should be adhered to, I think it's something also that the party and the members of the party, the leadership of the party should encourage. I believe that there is nothing the structures of the party cannot handle. All these issues can be addressed and should be addressed at the home front. They are not issues for the media for now. Of course, the media will get to hear the story. But advisedly, it is better for the party to sit at home and address these issues, talk to each other. No matter how long it will take, let them sit at home and address these issues. And I'm sure the BOT, the NEC, the caucus should be involved. There should be a serious discussion across board on what should be done in order to forge ahead with the preparations towards the election. Just like someone has said, the election is for PDP to lose. And truly, the ruling party has done all the campaign for the party. And if we don't take advantage of the flaws, the inherent challenges confronting the ruling party, then we'll have ourselves to blame. But I am sure that the structures of the party are in a position to address these issues, and they should do so timeously. We are wasting too much time with the internal wranglings, where they are very, very unnecessary. And as a serious political party, we must tackle these issues appropriately. So for me, yes, there was a discussion which arose when everybody said, look, the issue of zoning the presidency to the south should be laid to rest. All comers should be allowed to participate. When that was taken, the discussion now dwelt into what happens if, as we have it, the current national chairman is from the north. What happens if a northerner emerges as the flag bearer of the party? And in principle, it was agreed that if that happens, then there will certainly have to be changes in the structures handling the political party. And I mean the national chairmanship and other positions will have to be swapped.
Mr. Jacobs, please allow me to interrupt you. There are some within your party that believe that changing or removing the national chairman at this point will be counterproductive. They believe that this can only be done if your candidate, Atiku Abubakar, emerges winner of the 2023 presidential election. What's your take on this?
That is an opinion. And like I said, those are things that should be discussed in-house. People should be invited. A large collection of people from within the party, major stakeholders, should be discussed with. You don't take those decisions behind closed doors and particularly without discussing or without having the people agitating for the removal of the chairman involved in the discussions. You must call a meeting of all the structures, particularly the key leaders in those structures, to sit down and discuss holistically. There's no problem. And it won't be wrong to advise or request that, look, the time we're in is not conducive for this sudden change. Let's wait until after the election. Those are ideas that should be discussed in-house, not to agitate on the media or outside the party structures and begin to even lampoon those who are asking that gentlemen discussions and agreements that were had before the convention should be dishonored. I don't subscribe to that. Personally, I think these are issues that we must address if we want to move further into victory. You can't have victory when you are sidelining people, particularly those who feel aggrieved. You can't sideline them and then take decisions on their behalf. They have a right to agitate for whatever they are agitating. It's part of our political, it's part of democratic space that you agitate and press for a position. But there is nothing absolutely wrong in agitating for such things. But there is also nothing wrong in calling an in-house meeting where the issue will be properly deliberated upon with all parties, interested parties present. There is nothing that cannot be done. We can appeal to people to see reason why probably the current demand that the chairman should honor the obligation that was taken before the convention. There is no reason why we should not sit together and discuss and agree on a position. It's doable. And I will use this opportunity to appeal to all well-wishers of the party to impress on the national leadership of the party to honor that discussion and call a big meeting where people will speak up and share ideas and convince each other on any position that should be taken. You can't shave a man in his absence. And that is what has been causing some of the problems, that people are not invited to discussions, people are not listened to, and people are dismissed. Their opinions or wishes or feelings are thrown on and trodden upon, are dismissed without discussion. That cannot work in a democracy. So I will appeal to all leaders of the party. This is the time to close ranks. This is a time to give everybody a hearing, and this is a time to mend the fences. It's doable.
All right. Speaking of the timing of these multiple crises that seem to be happening, although micro, they seem to be piling up, and it seems like the discussion has, like you said, has left the inner caucus of the party and has now flowed into the media and the general public. A lot of the people in the public as well are saying that these kinds of distractions, these kinds of issues might be ultimately what loses PDP the election come February. What do you have to say about the fact that this is all happening right now?
I agree absolutely that the failure of leadership to address these issues appropriately can cost us the election. There's no doubt about it. And I mentioned earlier that the election is for the PDP to lose. You need to address very teething issues that have refused to go away. You can wish them away, but they are refusing to go away. And it is time to address them. And they can be addressed. You call a NEC meeting where all the governors will be present, call BOT members will be present, caucus members will be present, and lock yourselves up and insist on addressing the issue. Let all persons who have an issue bring it up. And you address everything openly and fairly. There is nothing that cannot be taken care of. But like I said, a situation where people don't want to discuss the issues appropriately and decently with all parties involved is what will cause problems. It may look very simple. It may look like a tiny matter that people should forget or overlook. But truly, if anybody can produce or deny you 2 votes, in politics, you go after him. You don't ignore. You don't disparage. You don't say, let him do his worst. That's not politics. That is not the spirit that brings victory. If we want to win an election, then certainly there must be a deliberate effort to mend fences. There must be inclusiveness in decision making. There must be an open door policy. If you want to change positions, if you want to shift positions, don't do it behind people, particularly major stakeholders like our governors, members of the BOT, and others. Involve them in the discussions and the decision making. After such discussions, if you take any position, you will have no problem. And I think we need that urgently in the PDP.
All right, Mr. Mark Jacobs. The PDP chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, has said that if he is to step down, he says all members, he has given a condition that all members of the National Working Committee from the South must swap their positions, their current positions, to be very precise, with those from the North, since the presidential primary, the presidential candidate is from the North. Do you think the National Working Committee will accede to this particular demand? Because he says that if he can do this, then he will step aside.
Well, personally, I've not heard the national chairman say so. I only read it in social media. And these days, I take with a pinch of salt anything I read on social media. Look, these discussions before the convention were held and agreed upon. There's no doubt about it. It was not a hidden thing that people agreed that if the presidential candidate emerges from the North, certainly the national chairman, if he's from the North, will have to leave office. Now, it is not for the national chairman to change the position. It is for the party. It is for members of NEC. It is for members of the BOT. It is for a larger group to take that decision, not for the national chairman. I don't think it's correct. But like I said, I've not heard the chairman say so. And I don't think he will say so, because he's a gentleman. He knows exactly the discussions that took place before the convention that produced him. And before we went into the primaries, those discussions were held. And people agreed that that will happen.
Now, I'd like to follow up with what's happening with the Wike camp. The PDP's Board of Trustees set up a committee to reconcile Governor Wike and Atiku Abubakar, and last Thursday, both men met behind closed doors. So I'd like to know how productive or otherwise was that meeting?
Okay, I am aware of those meetings and I'm aware of the resolution. Long before now, the BOT had indicated that this meeting will hold and that steps will be taken by different structures of the party to address the Wike issue. And I think this is just the right thing to do. I've repeatedly said that we need inclusiveness. We don't need exclusivity. You don't exclude people when you want to take decisions. If somebody is aggrieved, rightly or wrongly, the right thing to do is to afford him an opportunity to vent his anger or misgiving. And then you appeal to him based on what is on ground and let him take a decision together with you. I had predicted that this day will come when Wike and Atiku, together with other members of the party, will sit across the table and iron out issues. The issues that arose are normal in the political landscape. When you lose election or when you don't get what you want, there is usually a fallout. So a matured association or a well-meaning strong association should naturally design processes of addressing the fallout of such happenings. And I'm quite happy, I'm very happy that the BOT has stepped in with that committee. And as you rightly said, both Wike and His Excellency Atiku Abubakar have had discussions. For me, this is the right path to go. And I will not be surprised if that committee of 14 people or so addresses even the issue of the national chairmanship. And so it should not be an issue that someone will be so quick to throw open to the public for discussion. We have a lot of structures that can address these issues. And I think they should be respected, particularly by leaders of the party, to allow the processes that have been initiated to bear fruit. If the process is allowed to run uninterrupted, we will arrive at a positive position. And I can see it happening. There is nothing under the sun that dialogue has not resolved, even war. So, and this is not even war, this is politics. And politics is about negotiations. And I see the able candidate of the PDP, who is an old hand in this matter. He knows exactly what it is to negotiate, and he has been through it in the past. He can negotiate, he can give and take, and of course, you cannot also write off the capacity of Governor Wike with his team. He has a number of governors with him. He has a number of BOT members and so on. So you can't write them off. And if they have willingly set up a team to address the issues, I think all members of the party, including the national chairman and the members of the NWC, should cooperate and allow that team to work out a solution. And I'm sure it's something that they can do within a week or two. So I'm actually very encouraged by that.
Okay. Well, the former national legal advisor for the PDP, Mr. Jacob Mark, we thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and for your analysis.